So we seem to be getting there that we're saying, this is good, this works. But there's still some questions. Mostly this is shown by reduction in office discipline referrals. That's a pretty school-friendly measure to use. It's something they collect, and it's kind of an easy data point to get. Some other things look at just direct observation behavior and that kind of thing. And again, we're kind of saying this works, this reduces problem behavior, but again, we still aren't sure about a couple things. One of the biggest things is how to incorporate the aspect of behavior function in this intervention. By its very nature, it's a tier 2 intervention. It's meant to be efficient and it's meant to be effective. And balancing efficiency and effectiveness while not significantly sacrificing one or the other seems to be kind of at the crux of how do we do this best and how do we guide schools in doing this best. So do we start incorporating an FBA? How do we do that? Again, by its very nature at tier 2, it's not meant to be individualized. It's meant to be kind of, we could have 30 students running this, and we're running it really efficiently in the school with low cost, low resources, low time. So if we start individualizing it, you know, what does that mean? Are we kind of introducing a little mini tier between 2 and 3? And again, it all comes down to decision making. So what we looked at was how are FBAs being incorporated into the intervention. Based on that information, do the reported short and long-term outcomes support the assertion that students with attention-maintained behaviors are more likely to respond? And I skipped over that. So it's recommended for students that demonstrate behavior that is maintained by attention. We've, again, kind of come to that consensus that that seems to be the type of student that is most likely to respond. However, we wanted to look in the literature, is that really true? And then we wanted to see just how the results kind of inform recommendations going forward. So real quickly, we looked at 15 studies total. The inclusion criteria was that check and check out had to be the independent variable. It had to be done in a SWEB school being used as a tier 2 intervention. And then we looked at just school age population, so K through 12. And here's some things that we found. So 9 of the 15 studies used an FBA in some way. These were the most recently conducted studies. So you kind of saw in the earlier ones, they're saying, we think we kind of might need to do this. And you kind of saw the response in the most recent one saying, okay, well, we're going to do it, and this is how we'll do it. 6 of the 9 used FAXT, which is the Functional Assessment Checklist for teachers and staff. This is an FBA, it's a modified, shortened FBA. There's, I'm sure many of us in here that have conducted a full-blown FBA and know how long that takes, how time-intensive it is, and that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a brief, modified one where we just get a real simple statement of, we believe this student behavior or functioning to maintain this. There are some individuals that have pointed out, oh yes?
I have a question. Are you using the check-in, check-out to see if an FBA is needed?
Well, that's a good question, and that is one way to do it. So if we just roll out check-in, check-out standard and we're not seeing a response, at that point, maybe we need to conduct an FBA to help us make a decision going forward. There are other people that are saying, just do it from the get-go, so you have this information about the students to maybe even match them with the intervention or to make it more effective. And there are some people that say, really that shouldn't even come into play until tier 3. So it's kind of unresolved a little bit. So it could be that is the case.
So if the child isn't responding to the check-in, check-out, then we may need to see what's the function of.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I'm going to get to that a little bit later when we talk about the outcomes. So FACTS is meant to be short. They say when proficient with it, it should be able to be done in 10 to 15 minutes, although you can tack on some direct observations of behavior, which is obviously going to take longer. Some people have pointed out that although this has to be a modified FBA, it cannot be a full-blown at tier 2, or we're kind of going against the very nature of what it is. How reliable, are these statements, these summary statements of these FBAs? So we go through this brief process and say, this student is functioning to, get adult attention. How reliable is that? So that's certainly a question. Other ones that were used are here, and really there was one study that kind of really loaded up on the FBAs, which was kind of a outlier. Most of them just used facts, and that was it. One used a parent one, a teacher one, a student one, which gave a lot of great information, but in terms of practicality is not really what we're recommending for schools. So this is just a little snippet of the facts assessment. So it talks about their schedule, talks about different environments throughout the day, it talks about how they're responding to those environments, it sets up the summary behavior. You do almost an interview-like format with their teachers, and again, once you get it rolling, it should take about 10 to 15 minutes. So that's the idea, and that's actually the one that is recommended to go along with this intervention. So, based on the literature, and this gets to the question that was just asked, the FBAs were used in 3 different ways. Mostly they were just used to describe the participants. So, this is our pool of participants. We do the facts assessment with them. These are their reported behavior functions, and then we just did check in, check out. So it wasn't used to change anything, to modify anything, to match anything. It was just kind of giving us more information about these participants so that maybe we can reach some conclusions about students more likely to respond. One study did use it to make function-based adaptations to the intervention. So there are 2 students, they're functioning to get peer attention. We're going to tweak something in the intervention and do kind of a ABCBC. So we're going to look at just check in, check out. We're going to look at check in, check out with this function-based adaptation and see how it goes. And of course, the function-based adaptation produced more significant outcomes. Another study actually introduced an academic component based on the FBA as well. And then one study used it to identify students, and this is, I think, where we get into what are the implications for school use with this idea. So if we're kind of saying this type of student is more likely to respond to this intervention, is this what schools should be doing? Again, kind of getting back to that question of let's do an FBA. If you don't fit within this profile, we're just not even going to use this intervention with you. Not really sure where that's going to go in the future, but that's something we're looking at.